are you doing?
I'm doing great, Marie. How are you?
Good. I definitely need to get over there so we can have a foosball tournament. That looks like a fun time in the background there.
Yeah, absolutely. My fiance and I love hosting, so whenever folks are over, that's always everybody's just around here, like with their drinks and just having fun. So it's definitely a nice thing to have in your home.
Definitely. So, question for you on that. Do you play where you're allowed to spin it or you're not allowed to spin it?
No, house rules are no spinning. We're
Okay.
yeah, very particular about that.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know when I can ever get over there to play. But awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Before we kind of jump into some of the stuff you're going to share, can you introduce yourself, what you do, and maybe give us a little bit about what we're going to learn today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Abdallah. I'm a product manager on the Amplify team. I'm specifically responsible for the Amplify JavaScript front-end library in addition to Amplify Flutter. So to give everybody kind of like a little bit of an overview about what Amplify is. So Amplify is a front-end framework that allows front-end developers to be able to build full stack applications in a really streamlined manner. So we provide front-end client libraries that allow you to be able to connect to AWS services. We also provide you with tools such as our CLI plus our console and our hosting uh, service as well to allow you to be able to really manage and build a full stack application using your favorite front-end web or mobile framework.
Nice.
And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's definitely one of the most exciting products I've ever gotten a chance to work on. And specifically, what I'm going to be showing today is Amplify's Flutter new functionality that we've unlocked, allowing developers to be able to build customizable authentication flows within their Flutter applications. Flutter is a cross-platform front-end development framework that allows you to be able to use your same code that is built using Dart, which is a programming language. And
Hmm.
you can then use that code and then deploy it to multiple target platforms, such as iOS, Android, the web, and desktop. At this point in time, Amplify Flutter supports iOS and Android. So the the customizable authentication flow that I'm going to show you today is actually something that would work when you build it once and is able to work for both iOS and Android.
No, that's great. And I love that you called that out. It's always the question, is it going to work for both or just one? So great that it was built for that. So what types of people are using this, or why did we build this capability for folks?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have actually had previously had functionality that allowed front-end developers using Flutter to be able to use things like, for example, username and password sign-in, or be able to do things like be able to use third-party identity providers like Amazon or Facebook or Google to be able to authenticate users into their apps. But we kept hearing feedback from customers that were saying, this is not enough for my use cases. I want to be
Hmm.
able to unlock use cases such as enabling my users to log in using a one-time password. Or, for example, I want to be able to add CAPTCHA to my login flows so that I want to be able to verify that there's a genuine human that's actually using my application.
Hmm.
So that's where that use case came from.
No, that's great. And I'm sure this question comes up all the time, but obviously this is on AWS. But am I allowed to use my own integrations or services with Amplify Flutter?
Absolutely. So the way that the custom authentication flow works is you have Lambdas that are set up using Cognito, Amazon Cognito, because that is what we use for authentication under the hood. So you have the ability for you to be able to basically then set up exactly how that authentication flow needs to work for you. So if you have a specific service that you want to use for generating your one-time passwords that you want to send to customers, if you have your own CAPTCHA service, for example, all of those are things that you can set up within the Lambda triggers. So you have full flexibility and control, and it's up to you to decide how to set that up for you.
No, that's great. Yeah, that I feel like that's something that probably everyone wants to know there. And if any questions come up, don't hesitate to post them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them during this session and then during the demo as well. So don't hesitate to ask any more questions. So you did mention earlier on kind of the use case of people were wanting just the one-time password or being able to set up multiple options for their customers. So is that possible? Can I use one-time password or CAPTCHA or any type of authentication for my customers?
Absolutely. And what you can set up as well using the Lambda triggers that are available through the custom outflow from Cognito are you can also stack what they call challenges. So for example, you could say, I want one-time password, and then if that check actually passes, then I want to show CAPTCHA. If that check passes, then I want to go to the next thing. And you're able to basically sequence these challenges or stack them and only allow your user to actually sign into the app after all of these challenges have passed.
Awesome. So you can make things extremely secure if you wanted to, or you can make it super simple, it sounds like as well.
Exactly. Yes. For my demo today, I'm going to be showing you a very simple one-time password flow, just to kind of give you a feel of how that would work.
Awesome. Well, that leads me to the next thing. This is my favorite part of these shows is the demo. So are you ready to share that with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. All right. So to make things simpler for us, what we've done is we've actually created a sample app that Mo Malika, who's a solution architect on the Amplify Flutter team, has created this sample app for us just to make it easy for a developer to want to be able to clone this app and get started with building their custom authentication flow. So I've already cloned this into my local machine. And the only things that you would have to do after cloning this app is you would have to go to the Amplify folder, to backend, and then function, and then to the create off challenge Lambda trigger. And then within this boilerplate create challenge.js, I'm going to set up my my SES resource, which is going to be used for sending my one-time password.
Okay.
So that's really all of the setup that I needed, like on changing the code. And then the other thing that I now need to do, the way that Amplify works is in order for you to be able to start setting up the cloud resources that you need to start being able to interact with the cloud with your application, the first thing that I need to do is use Amplify init, which will allow me to be able to actually set up my project locally.
Okay.
And then the CLI, which I've already previously installed, I've already configured it to be connected to my AWS profile. I'm going to create the environment, and I'm going to select the profile, which is connected to US West 2 as my region. And then as this initial project is being set up, the sample app has already done the job of adding the Amplify authentication category. However, for any of our developers that want to use our library and want a better overview of if they want to set things up themselves completely from scratch, then they can do that following our documentation page. And that's a link that we can provide as well.
Perfect.
And,
yeah, that was going to be my question there. So the sample app sounds like a really great place to start. But if someone is a little bit more experienced in Amplify, they can just go to this place or to this documentation and start from scratch on their own and get to be frustrated with figuring it out. But it sounds like the sample app is a really great option for new users.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. And my project is still getting set up. I believe it's about done. Yep. And now, since my project is now set up locally, I still don't have my cloud resources for authentication created yet. So in order for me to do that, I would need to use Amplify push. And Amplify push is the command that basically takes a look at all of the configurations that you have set up locally on your machine, and then checks the delta between your Amplify project that's in the cloud, in your AWS profile, and then determines, are there any changes? And those changes are listed to you here. And then here, I can then basically say that, okay, all of these changes are related to the authentication category that was added. And then these 3 Lambda triggers are specifically the ones that are used for for setting up the challenges in Cognito, in addition to determining what the responses to those challenges are. And I can walk you through very quickly, like as this deploys up to my AWS account, what's happening like within these Lambda triggers. So in here, what happens is this specific, well, let me start in order. The first one that I want to show is the defining of the challenge. So defining of the auth challenges means what are the sequence of challenges that you want set up within your authentication flow. So as you can see here, the only thing that I really have is a custom challenge that is set up for one-time passwords.
Okay.
So I don't actually have a username or password set up as a challenge here. Then the other thing that I have then is the creation of the auth challenge, which is here. And that is where the challenge is actually being sent to the customer in order for them to be able to then get verified. And as you can see here, what we can send as well are things like the field title and the hint, so that within your front-end application, you're able to use that information to basically explain to the customer what's happening, why am I seeing the screen. So these are all things that you can extract out of the response that you get back from our authentication library. And then the last thing that I want to show is, one moment. This one is the verification of the auth challenges. So in here is where you define how are you going to verify the challenges that are coming back from the front-end client. And as you can see here, since I only have one-time password, all that I'm doing here is basically verifying that the challenge code is actually correct. And based on the one that's already been defined in my first Lambda trigger. And if it is, and it's true, then at that point in time, this challenge is successful. And then the user can actually log into the application.
Yeah, and so I know you're giving us kind of like a accessible demo with like one challenge. So what do most people do? Like, what would you say is the average number of challenges that people use in different use cases?
I would say it's a combination of two things. The first one is just purely using one-time password as a mechanism of authenticating users. That's definitely one of the most common use cases that customers are asking for. The other use case is also being able to use username and password authentication, but then using CAPTCHA as well on top of that to verify that this is a genuine human that's accessing the service and not some sort of like crawler or robot or something like that that's trying to basically unauthentically access your service or application.
Okay, no, that definitely makes sense. So where are we heading next with this demo?
Yeah, so what I want to do now is after my changes deploy, I have in here my main application. So within the application, I didn't actually build a full UI myself. I actually took a little bit of a shortcut and used the Amplify Authenticator, Amplify Flutter Authenticator, which is a UI component, or we call it a connected UI component, which allows you to be able to use our it provides you with UI components that out of the box creates the authentication experience for you. And what you can do using the authenticator widget is you're able to then set up steps for your authentication flow. So as I was mentioning about the custom authentication flow having challenges, the challenges come in the form of steps. So using our authenticator, depending on where the step is, you can actually direct the customer to a separate page to handle that challenge. And once that succeeds, then you take them to the next page until all of those pass. And then after they pass, then you're able to direct them into your actual homepage or whatever page you want them to land on afterwards.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I believe I'm ready now to actually like run this application. Okay.
So you're showing us the iOS
Yes,
demo
I am.
piece.
I
Perfect.
am. Since I'm running this on a Mac, it's just like the easiest thing to get set up quickly and
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's gonna take about a minute to run.
Okay. And what should we be looking for here as this is running?
So what you're going to see when it starts is that it's going to take us to a page where you're either can log in immediately, or it tells you that if you don't have an account, then you would need to sign up. And then after you click on sign up, then it will basically ask you for a username, a password. I'll get a one-time password um, to just verify my account. And then I will get another one-time password that I will use to actually log in into the application. So that's what I'm expecting is going to happen here.
Awesome.
And yeah. And while this loads, I want to show you. Okay.
Teaser there. Teaser. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna sign up here. So now after I sign up, this is all of this UI, by the way, is handled by our authenticator. So if you're trying to build a quick demo, if you really want to focus on the core functionality of your app and you don't want to have to worry about handling the state of authentication, and like the authenticator is really powerful for those use cases. You can just focus on building the core functionality of your app. And I have my verification code. All right, and then as you can see here, it's telling me enter the secret, which is actually what was shown here in the Lambda trigger. So I'm reading that information back from our authentication library. And my verification code has now been sent over my email. And if I click on confirm here, I'm signed in.
Awesome. That was easy.
Yeah, it's I'm really happy this went really smoothly. But yeah, like we really just wanted to demonstrate for our developers that it's really that easy for you to get set up with custom authentication. And we believe like the sample app is a great thing to really get you started if you want to just really get a place, get an application where it's already working well, and then you can just make adjustments to it, to maybe the login experience, maybe after the homepage. Then it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great place to start. I know the sample app was posted in the comments section, so scroll and find it, or our team will post it again. It's definitely an awesome place to start. But before we pivot off the demo, I didn't want to cut you off on the teaser you gave us right before it started working. So what did you want to share?
Yeah, I wanted to also share our authenticator documentation. It lives in our UI documentation site. And I wanted to share it because it really is such a powerful tool for you as a Flutter developer. If you really want to be able to securely set up authentication for your application, but you don't necessarily care about that experience, or you want to focus a lot more on building the core functionality of your app. However, there is a requirement for for authentication. Then, like the authenticator is going to become your best friend, because you can just drop that into your application. It automatically handles authentication for you and registration, and then you can just like focus on building the core functionality. And what you can do as well on top of that is also you have the ability to do full UI customization. So what that means is that you can use the authentication state that we can manage the authentication state for you using the authenticator, and then it's up to you to set up the experience completely. So whether if you want to, for example, add in your logo, or you want to add additional fields in your sign-up form, then these are all things that you could do using our authenticator.
Okay, no, that's great. It looks very user friendly, and that's been a theme of this episode this week, is just that low code usability, reducing the load off of our developers so that they can actually go in and do the fun stuff versus having to worry about the stuff on the back end. So really awesome stuff. So we're kind of getting to the end of our time here, but before I ask you kind of some closing questions, I did want to remind our folks joining us today that we want to hear from you. This helps us do our job better as hosts, as guests, as content that you're seeing. So please take 5 minutes after the show to fill out our survey. I keep seeing it get posted by our team, so I'm guessing the first 50 people haven't submitted or will submit right after the show. But don't forget that you will get a $10 AWS credit for our first 50 respondents. So please make sure you take that survey so that we can keep serving you the content that you want to see and hear. So as we wrap up, what are some of the things that folks that are new to Amplify or Amplify Flutter, what is your call to action for them?
I definitely want to mention, and I know I saw Mo has already left that in the comments, we are an open source framework, so contributions are more than welcome. If you ever have issues, please feel free to visit our GitHub repository, or join our Discord, our Discord server. And we're very active on both, and we try to really engage the community, make sure to have an understanding on, to give everybody an understanding of like help them with their concerns and give them an understanding about where we are with what we build. And I do want to mention this for Flutter developers. We are for sure working on supporting web and desktop support as well as part of our library. We totally understand that as a Flutter developer, the promise of using that platform, or the appeal of using that front-end framework, is that you get that cross-platform experience on all target platforms, so like iOS, Android, web, and desktop. So we're definitely working on that. That is our biggest priority for this year. And very, very soon, we're going to have a dev preview out, starting with authentication as our first category. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. No, that's a great way to close out there. I also noticed, I'm guessing that's your Twitter handle. So if you want to bother Abdallah, that's where you need to go. He has it sharing there. So any questions there, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for joining me. It was really great to have you here. I learned a ton, and I'm definitely going to download that sample app and play around and see what I can do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Marie. This was awesome.